Okay, so just a quick, what we're going to talk about. I talk about Inktank's vision and what we were trying to do, an introduction to Ceph, the upstream project, then an introduction to Inktank F Enterprise, which is the product that we have based on Ceph, some use cases, some customer profiles, and some roadmap. Storage, traditional storage solutions, using Ceph as his weapon, so to speak. We provided enterprise subscriptions, professional services, and training around the Ceph product and brought that to the market. As I said at the start, we were acquired by Red Hat in April of this year. So what is the problem? To this date, there has been 1.5 zettabytes of data created in the world. But now with the advent of smartphones and all the other trappings of the internet, by all the conservative estimates of the analysts, by 2020, there will be approximately 15 to 20 zettabytes of data created. And this presents a real problem for enterprises because the growth of their IT budgets are effectively linear while the data growth is explosive. It's almost exponential. And they're looking for solutions beyond what they've been able to implement with their legacy solutions. So this is the solution that Ceph provides in that it offers a scale-out solution versus a scale-up solution. Traditionally, you would buy a storage solution or storage box, and when you got to your data filled that box up, you would then buy another box, and but you would only be using an incremental amount of storage in that box, and it would cost you a lot of money to buy these big blocks of storage. With Ceph, you can incrementally add hardware to address the storage needs as you grow. And the software that controls that hardware will add that to the cluster as appropriate. And this allows you to scale up and down very, very quickly. Given the analysis that we've done at Inktank with the various customers that we have and the IT spend that they had around their hardware on their solutions, it's estimated that the costs that they have with all their data center solutions, et cetera, was 1 to 5 US cents per gigabyte per month is the cost of the storage that they have today with Ceph solutions. And that radically changes the economic picture from a storage perspective for these organizations. So first I'm going to talk about the upstream project Ceph. Just a show of hands, if I may. Who knows about Ceph or has heard about Ceph? Okay, a few. Okay. So Ceph, I'm going to talk a little history first. Ceph was started in 2004 by a gentleman called Sagewile as a Department of U.S. Department of Energy project to replace Luster. It was open sourced in 2006. It was reviewed by Linus and put into the Linux kernel. He liked what he saw in 2010, and also added to OpenStack in 2011. However, Ceph kind of got its big break, if you will, where in 2012 we released a bobtail version of Ceph. And this was the first production release where we saw real adoption of Ceph and enterprises putting it into production. Since then, it's gone very well from an Inktank and now Red Hat perspective. The point of this slide, however, is to show that Ceph is not new technology. It has been around for 10 years, and there are large organizations adopting Ceph and putting it into production today. And obviously, as I said, in April this year, Red Hat acquired Inktank and all the folks who work there. So what is the promise of Ceph? Ceph basically provides 3 solutions in the one storage cluster. It offers object storage, block storage, and file storage. With object, you get S3 and Swift compatibility, you have geo-replication of objects, now erasure coding with the new version that we just came out with. And I'll talk a little bit about this in the, as we talk about the use cases. Block storage, where, as I said, in the Linux kernel, we have tiering, and it's integrated into OpenStack, and then Ceph has a POSIX-compliant file system. So this addresses the traditional versus non-traditional market, or the new advent of how people do storage. In fact, at Inktank, we used to say we're going to provide solutions to customers so they could do storage like Google does storage. Ceph is multi-purposed, it's unified. There's 3 solutions in the one cluster, therefore reducing the cost of ownership of these different types of storage. It's distributed software, it's not a hardware solution. So you can use existing hardware you have in your organizations to implement this storage solution. It's open source, and it can scale to exabyte in theory. We haven't had anybody hit exabyte scale yet, but I'm looking forward to when that happens. This is an architecture diagram that shows from a hardware perspective, actually. So this is the hardware layer. These are your storage nodes, and when you install Ceph, they put object storage daemons on the actual disk. And these are what control the disks in your storage nodes. We then have these monitor nodes, and they are the stewards of the cluster. They make sure that disks are up or down, if clients are joining the cluster, et cetera, and make sure everything is running correctly within the cluster. This entire solution right here is effectively an object storage solution. So, and this is where all the smarts of Ceph live. We then have interfaces that present this object solution as object storage, block storage, or file. And then, of course, you have the access methods up above, S3 or iSCSI or whatever it is that you want to use to access the cluster. I wanted to show a slide of the community. The community is growing rapidly at this point. There was the Linux Foundation published recently the different open source projects, and Ceph, I think, was number 2 behind KVM. We all have a lot of customers and big companies joining the community. Examples are Cisco, Intel, and a lot of activity going on in the community. We also have Ceph days, which are very much like these Red Hat forums going on around the world all the time to promote the message around Ceph. But this is the more interesting slide, and probably the main reason why Inktank was purchased by Red Hat. Ceph is the #1 storage within the OpenStack ecosystem. It lends itself well to this ecosystem. It's the only open source block solution. Obviously, OpenStack is very much an open source community, and the adoption within this community of Ceph has been very, very good. And where Inktank did a lot of its business before it was acquired by Red Hat. But that said, Ceph is not just an open source storage solution for OpenStack, it's an open source storage solution. And again, I'll talk a little bit about that when I talk about the use cases. So, Inktank F Enterprise, this is the actual product that Inktank created using Ceph. First, just what are the services we offered around Inktank F Enterprise? We have enterprise subscriptions, as you would expect, professional services, and training. And we wrap this all up into products that we offer around Inktank F Enterprise. But Inktank F Enterprise is effectively Ceph, the object and block aspects of Ceph right now. Eventually, the file will be part of Inktank F Enterprise, but today Inktank had to make a decision a little while back, and we decided just to use object and block for now because there's a lot of work to go into all these 3 elements, and we were 50 people at the time. We offer a monitoring tool. It was originally a monitoring tool, but it's morphing into a management suite called Calamari. It allows you to see what's going on in the cluster. We also have deployment tools which allow you to deploy Ceph, get it up and running very quickly. We also have local repositories if you don't have internet access at your location so that you can get Ceph up and running. And then, of course, the classic support services, 24/7 support, et cetera, that you expect from Red Hat. This is a view of Calamari and what it actually looks like. Each of these panels you can click on to find out the health of the cluster, the kind of IOPS you're doing, and all the other kind of trappings that come with monitoring the cluster. As I said, this monitoring tool, Calamari, is morphing into a management suite, and Red Hat are putting a lot of resources right now into making this far more sophisticated than it is today. So the key benefits of using Ceph, obviously if you have object, block, and file, or for Inktank F Enterprise right now, object and block, you have multiple solutions in the one cluster. This lowers your total cost of ownership. You can run it on commodity hardware that you already own. We also have long-term support as part of our subscriptions, et cetera, so you're future-proofed. All the folks, or a lot of the folks who work in the community now work for Red Hat, so you have the expertise at Red Hat to support you as you adopt Ceph and Inktank F Enterprise, and it's enterprise ready with the use cases that we have. Just a little note about training. I get asked this question a lot. In fact, I was in meetings all this week in Seoul and got asked this at every single meeting. How do I get trained on Ceph? We have typical training classes. We have our private training classes where we would come on site to your organization and do it in-person training. Probably the most popular one is the virtual training. It's online training, however, it's instructor-led. A live person is teaching the course and has folks going through the exercises and installing Ceph using VMs, et cetera. And then we have public training in various cities around the world. So I'm going to talk about the use cases that Inktank Ceph Enterprise is addressing today. Excuse me. So obviously the first one and the most important one at Red Hat and for Inktank was the fact that Ceph is tightly integrated into the OpenStack ecosystem. We provide our integration with Keystone and Swift on the object side and Cinder and Glance, et cetera, on the block side. And as I showed the survey, this is a solution that is resonating very well in with the cloud folks with OpenStack, and it is the #1 storage within OpenStack right now. Very important use case for Inktank. This is how Ceph is getting adopted into enterprises. However, when they look at Ceph, they implement it in OpenStack, they start to use Ceph for different storage solutions within the organizations because you can get very, very good economies of scale using Ceph compared to the existing storage solutions that they have. The second use case is cloud storage. Inktank was spun out of a company called DreamHost. DreamHost is a hosting provider in Los Angeles. Sage Weil was also a founder of DreamHost. And DreamHost was looking for a solution to compete with Amazon. They wanted to offer S3 services to their customers, AKA storage as a service, and implemented a product called Dream Objects. This is that solution and what it looks like. It's a federated object storage solution. They have disaster recovery sites in Los Angeles and on the East Coast of the United States, and they're offering S3 solutions to their customers. You can also implement Swift, so you can do this internally at your organizations or externally. The last use case right now, and this is becoming very, very popular, is cold storage. I mentioned at the start that organizations are getting a lot of data because of the advent of smartphones, but organizations had a lot of data anyway. Banks and folks like that have regulatory requirements to store data for long periods of time, but not necessarily have that data accessed. The advent of our erasure coding solution with the, beg your pardon. The advent of the erasure coding feature with the caching solution allows folks to store large amounts of data at a very low cost point and have that data accessible at all times. It's typically what people are using right now is tape, but tape takes a long time to access the data. This is a solution that's been adopted by quite a few of our customers right now. In fact, there's a customer in Silicon Valley who I can't name, but they're about to spin up a 50 petabyte cluster of photo data that is going to be archived, and that will be the biggest Ceph cluster that has ever existed. So a little kind of word around the roadmap and where Ceph is going over the next couple of iterations. This matrix is to kind of show you the different aspects of storage, whether it's legacy or traditional, next generation, and performance versus capacity. And where Ceph and Inktank F Enterprise is playing right now is this top left-hand corner, where it's addressing obviously OpenStack, storage as a service, and sync and share. But the top two are our main focus right now. But our customers are asking for more, of course. Customers always ask for more, and specifically database as a service. So we have a couple of themes that we're working on from an engineering perspective. The first theme is optimization and performance optimization. A lot of work is going on right now in engineering to optimize Ceph for all flash devices, and again, as I said, to run databases on top of the block device. The first database that we will start testing is MySQL. We have had customers implement other solutions already on the existing block device, other databases, and it does actually work. But this, we're doing a lot of work right now, as I said, to formalize that. The second theme is integration. And what we mean by this is Ceph is addressing the next generation storage opportunities right now, but there's a lot of legacy solutions that people want to use Ceph for. So we're working on things like iSCSI support and Kerberos and LDAP support such that we can address these legacy use cases. And the third theme is simplification. Ceph has been a little difficult to implement initially. To get Ceph up and running and to get it into a state where you can put it in production has been typically difficult. So we're working on things like Puppet manifests and installation, integrating our crush management into the Calamari tool and other such aspects to make Ceph a lot easier to deploy and maintain going forward. So these are the target use cases for the near future. Specifically, database as a service. A lot of our customers, as you would imagine, use VMware and are looking for Ceph. Ceph currently does not work on VMware, but this iSCSI integration will be the first generation where we can start integrating with VMware solutions. And compliance refers to more work around addressing these traditional use cases. So the release schedule, I want to kind of show how the upstream project maps to the Inktank F Enterprise product. At Inktank, there was a cadence of Ceph is on a 3-month cycle release. Inktank F Enterprise was every second release, therefore 6 months. That will slow down a little bit at Red Hat. We're doing a lot of work integrating into the Red Hat processes. There's a lot of work to get through, make sure that we go through the quality control that Red Hat has in place. But it will make Inktank F Enterprise a stronger product in the long run. But after that happens, we're going to try and continue the cadence of every 6 months, but that is to be determined. So this is kind of what it looks like and the various kind of features that are going to come. Inktank F Enterprise 2.0, RBD site mirroring. We have geo-replication of objects right now in 1.2, but we also will be able to do RBD mirroring very much like that geo-replication of objects. LDAP and Kerberos, the improved performance so we can run databases. And then down the road, we have things like Hyper-V support for Windows. vVol is the ability to support VMware natively, essentially, and make sure that we're part of that ecosystem. So there's a lot of the planning work is going on around this currently. The support matrix, we get asked this a lot, and if this is going to change. Right now, this is the server side, if you will, of Ceph. And it's supported on, obviously, RHEL at Red Hat. But we are also supporting Ubuntu and CentOS. We have very tight integration right now with RHEL OSP, as you would expect, and doing a lot of work around that product and Ceph. And it will be, obviously, the primary solution that we offer around OpenStack. But we do have customers still using the other flavors of OpenStack, and we'll continue to support that. And then when RHEL 7.1 becomes available, we will be part of the Lynx kernel in that. So some customer profiles to give you an example of who's using Ceph and in what capacity. The first is CERN in Switzerland or France, depending where you are in the campus. If you are not familiar with CERN, they do a lot of experiments with acceleration of atoms around the area of Switzerland and Geneva, and there's a lot of data generated when those atoms collide into the apparatus that they have to observe those collisions. CERN have created an OpenStack and Ceph environment to store that data, and universities around the world are accessing that data. They have a, relatively speaking, small 3 petabyte cluster. And the reason that it's small right now is because the accelerator is actually off. But when that accelerator is turned on again next year, it's off for maintenance right now. But when it's turned on again next year, a lot of data will be generated when they start doing those experiments again. So this has been a very good use case for us. And they talk publicly about all projects that they're doing. So if you go to their website, you can find out what they're doing with Ceph. Indiana University in the United States have built a cloud using OpenStack and Ceph for managing their profiles of their students and allow the students to manage themselves, quite frankly. This has been an interesting implementation for us. We've worked hand in hand with the university to make that work. Deutsche Telekom in Germany, the telecommunications company in Germany, has a OpenStack and Ceph, an OpenStack cloud backed by Ceph for the small to medium business. This is in production, but effectively was a proof of concept implementation of OpenStack for them. But they've really liked what they've seen, and they're about to expand their use of OpenStack quite aggressively in the next 3 to 6 months. And then University of Alabama, again in the United States. This is not an example of OpenStack. This is our geo-replication, our objects solution being geo-replicated to multi-sites for disaster recovery purposes. The University of Alabama put a lot of experimental data into Ceph, and they want multiple clusters around the campus in case something happens with one. So they replicate that data across multiple clusters. And that's it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will take any questions that you might have. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care.
네, 감사합니다.